Good evening. Thank you for coming to this meeting tonight. We'll get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Tonight is the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Today's date is August 19th, 2025. In the event of a fire or other emergency, please follow the exit signs that are provided in this room and throughout Town Hall. Upon exiting this room, the main exits are located in the front and the rear of the building. Do not use the elevator during an emergency. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded through the Town of Amherst YouTube channel. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Bray,
Present.
Member Rodham Schubert, Kelly Phillips, Ellen Parker, and Eric Gergen.
Thank you. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the June 17th meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
Second.
Motion by Member Phillips, second by Member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. A couple announcements before we get to the hearings. The first is that the 12th item on the agenda, 4627 Harlem Road, for a special use permit. The address was listed incorrectly on the agenda, so we will end up adjourning that meeting, or adjourning that item for tonight's meeting when we get to that. In addition, Member Gergen will recuse himself from items 6 and 12 due to a conflict. The first hearing on tonight's agenda is 54 Bennington Road. Would the applicant please come to the microphone? Please say your name and address into the microphone before starting your presentation, and make sure it is written down on the sheet on the podium.
Eric Randall, 54 Bennington.
Thank you. You may proceed.
We're looking to put in egress windows on the right-hand side of our house. It goes into the variance, I believe it's 5 inches too far. And that's what we're looking to do.
All right. Does any member of the board have a question for the applicant? No? All right. Is any member of the audience here to speak on this item? All right. With that, I will close the hearing on that request. Is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
A motion by Member Schubert, second by Member Phillips. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The next item on tonight's agenda is 141 Hamilton Drive. Would the applicant please come to the podium? Make sure you say your name and address into the microphone, as well as make sure it's written down on the sheet on the podium.
Okay. Yes, my name is Ben Baya. I am the owner of 141 Hamilton Drive. I've owned it for 37 years. I'm moving from Clarence back into this house. And we have a medium-sized dog that we want to make sure is contained. And as a result, we want to put in a fence. We understand that there's a 3-foot height restriction, and the fence that we really would like to use comes in 3-foot 6-inch height. So that's my request.
Is there any questions for the applicant? All right, is any member of the audience here to speak on this item? All right, with that, we'll close this hearing. Is there a motion on the request?
Move to approve.
Motion by Member Schubert, second by Member Gergen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The third item on tonight's agenda is 2280 Worley Drive. Would the applicant please come to the podium? Make sure you say your name and address into the microphone.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Dave Sutton from Sutton Architecture, representing Michael Keller for the variance request today at 2280 Worley Drive. Just a little back history of the property. This property has been vacant, obviously never had any building on it. It's a relatively small lot, would consider it an infill, and it was recently rezoned to an MFR 4A zoning, which allows for multifamily. We are proposing a 4-unit, 2-story townhouse type apartment building. And as a result of our design and investigation, we have attempted to find the best use of the property, and as a result are in need of a setback requirement. We are proposing 22 feet, and the requirement is 40 feet at this location. It's important to note that the property, which is directly to the east of this property, is a commercial piece of property. And actually do have a letter here, several copies, of the owner of that property and occupant of that property expressing no objection to this variance request.
Thank you.
So I'm with the understanding that there are 5 criteria that justify the merits for a variance, and one of which is whether it changes the character of the neighborhood. This vacant property has been unappreciated and kind of left unmanicured or unfinished for a long period of time. It will create a change to the neighborhood, but it will not be undesirable, in my opinion. We are proposing a high-quality 4-unit townhouse type apartment building. The rendering or elevations are shown on the screen here. And I think it'll be an asset or a contribution to the neighborhood rather than a detriment. Item number 2 is whether there was other alternative methods to achieve compliance. And in all honesty, this was probably the least impactful because we have some sensitivity to the property to the north because it's truly a residence. So we maintain that 40-foot setback with a substantial buffer. And the 22-foot, as you can imagine, is pretty required for this project to occur. If we maintain the 40-foot setback, we would almost cut the building in half and render it not possible or not developable. We are adding a lot of substantial landscaping on the east and on the north property line to help assist in the buffering and minimize the impact that this new project might have on any of the adjacent properties. Is the requested variance substantial? We don't believe it is because of the uniqueness of the property, and it is a 40-foot setback, but it's from a commercial property. The property which is to the east really doesn't have any visual impact on this property or connection to it. And once again, with the letter, we don't feel it's substantial, and neither does the neighbor that would be most impacted. Will it create any physical or environmental conditions and an adverse effect? That's regarding like traffic circulation or noise or debris or odor. We don't feel that this project would do that in any way. We feel it's actually very compatible for the property, and the variance would allow us to do the project as proposed. The last one is whether the project or the variance request is self-created. It's our opinion that it's not self-created because of the restrictions on the site. It's very unique. It's a corner lot, and there's really no other way to develop this property. However, we do realize too that the actual criteria for the variance is a balancing test, and we feel that the benefits that would be appreciated for this development if this variance is approved would greatly outweigh any negatives that might be as a result of the variance approved this evening. So that being said, I'd be willing to answer any questions from the board or any of the neighbors that might be in attendance this evening.
Does any member of the board have a question for the applicant?
I just have one or two. Just so I understand, we're talking about the rear line, which is really the side yard of the law firm next door.
Yeah, technically that's not the rear yard, but it is correct.
Yeah.
Because the address is Worley,
Right.
and it's a very unique situation, and we're obligated to maintain the 40-foot setback on the rear yard and the side yard, and that's what made this variance request necessary and complicated during the design process.
But you're not fronting on Worley, but you just have a Worley address.
Correct.
Okay. And this letter is from the adjoining neighbor.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, is any member of the audience here to speak on this item? Okay, we'll close the hearing. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion by member Phillips, second by member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 5-0. The next item on tonight's agenda is number 4, 280 Getzville Road.
Good evening. Once again, my name is Dave Sutton from Sutton Architecture, here representing the homeowner at 280 Getzville Road for a side yard variance request. The code specifically states that a 5-foot minimum is required for a side yard in a residential district, and we are proposing 3.5 feet off of the property, or 3-foot minimum setback, rather. And the reason for this is because we are in the process of remodeling, doing some improvements to the property, and one of the biggest detriments to this property is the current garage. It has 2 very narrow and thin garage that are relatively unusable, rather in depth and in width. So it's very tough for my client to use this properly. So we're proposing to get rid of the 2 small garage doors, replace it with one larger door that will allow for ease of access and egress, and also give enough room on each side for the doors to be opened without being constricted by walls and the limitations that the existing garage has in place. Another component of this is to also add some additional living space. So this will be a 2-story addition, and we're putting a bedroom and an ensuite up on top of the new garage, and we're in desperate need of a couple more feet to achieve a successful layout of that upstairs ensuite bedroom and bathroom. So we have requested a 3-foot setback as opposed to the 5 that is required. We are doing many things to help and allow for this variance to occur. We are going to be fire rating the wall, which would be required by New York State Code. And there are no windows, no real visual impact to the neighbor adjacent. We are trying to create a scenario that will not only respect the neighbor and the neighboring properties, but also achieve the desired effect for my client so he can continue to do the improvements he wishes to do this property, so he can age in place and live in this property for a long period of time. So once again, the variance request is subject to the 5 criteria. Will it create an undesirable change in the neighborhood? Is our opinion no. We feel any improvement into the properties in this neighborhood are positive, and we don't feel as if it's creating any negative impact. Currently, as you can see with the photo, it's a 2-car garage. It is a flat roof. It's kind of almost looks like an addition to the original building. We are proposing to knock that down and put the improvement and put it more integral into the overall house. Our other alternatives, an option here, we feel no, we're very limited in terms of the space we have to work with to achieve the desired effect. We need the additional 2 feet. Is it substantial? I don't feel that that is substantial from a 5-foot to a 3-foot, especially when we're taking into consideration all items that might be affected, such as fire rating and the aesthetics of the project. Whether it's a physical, environmental conditions are impacted, there's no increase in traffic, there's no increase in odor or any debris or anything that's created. Whether it is self-created. In a way, it is self-created because of the improvements that are desired, but once again, the limitations of the site are what we're restricted by, so we don't feel it's self-created. And going back to the whole balancing test associated with the benefits that will be appreciated as a result of this variance are great. It allows us to fix a problem at the garage. It allows us to expand this house in such a way that my client can continue to reside here. And we feel that any of the benefits far outweigh any detriment that might occur at this property. So that being said, I'd be willing to answer any questions regarding this variance request.
Has there been conversations with the neighbor to the adjoining, the south property line?
I personally have not had any. I know that they have been notified by you. I believe my client may have reached out to them, but I cannot verify that.
Does any member of the board have a question for the applicant?
I do. If I read the survey correctly, the neighbor is actually, the house is 3.97 from the property line, and the shed is 3.9 from the property line. So that neighbor is also too close to the property line.
That is correct.
What I'm seeing here. Okay, thank you.
Any additional? Go on.
And you said you are putting a fire-rated wall there?
Yeah. I mean, this variance is a great starting point, but we still have to go through the approval process. Our drawings will be submitted to the building department for review and approval, and that will include the necessary fire rating to be installed, inspected, and implemented at this location.
Any additional questions? All right, is any member of the audience here to speak on this item? Please come to the microphone, say your name and address into the microphone, and write it down on the sheet on there as well.
Hi, my name is Kim Downing, and I live at 272 Guttsville Road, which is the house immediately south adjacent to the property of 280 Guttsville Road. And I own the property along with Joseph Stretzman, and we live there. Regarding the variance, we oppose the variance. We feel the application for variance is either incorrect or fails to address the following. Application item number 1, character of the neighborhood. The application states no undesirable change, but this is not correct. The variance described in the application will have an undeniable change on the character of the neighborhood because our neighborhood consists of one-story ranch houses, and the requested variance turns the neighbor's home at 280 Guttsville Road from a one-story ranch into a two-story house. The variance will add a second floor that is approximately 9.5 feet high, which includes the joist subfloor, plus a pitched roof approximately 7 feet high. And these are above a first-floor garage approximately 9.5 feet high. Therefore, the total height of the new addition will be approximately 26 feet high. Relatively speaking, the height of the new addition at 280 Guttsville Road will be approximately 7.5 feet higher than the highest roof peak over our house. Please see the internet view, if you'd be so kind, of the neighboring one-story ranch houses around 272 and 280 Guttsville Road, if that's possible.
And just for a point of clarification, what is before this board tonight is not the height of the building. That is not part of their variance request. What is before us is to build within 3 feet of the property line rather than 5.
Yes.
So please contain your comments to that specific component of the request, because the building height we have no impact on.
Yes, what I'm describing here in my response is addressing each of the application items. This is one of them, which is the character of the neighborhood. So we feel that it is affecting the character of the neighborhood. We bought our house at 272 Guttsville Road 14 years ago because it is a one-story ranch in a neighborhood of one-story ranch homes. The proposed addition to the ranch home at 280 Guttsville will absolutely change the character of the neighborhood because this house is located midway along Guttsville Road, and the new second-floor addition with 7-foot pitched roof will tower over and stand out against any of the neighboring houses on both sides of the street in our neighborhood. Our neighbor, Mr. Nader, moved into the house 2 years ago, knowing that the house was a one-story ranch and that the surrounding neighborhood consisted of one-story ranch houses. I'll go on to application item number 2, other alternatives. The application does not state whether other feasible options or alternatives were sought other than the variance request. For example, I'll give you the previous owners of our own house at 272 Gettsville Road added a 20-foot by 20-foot room onto a concrete slab for a den on the first floor behind and attached to our existing garage and connected internally to our living space. This is the wall of our house at the north side of our property facing the neighbor's existing garage at 280 Gettsville Road. Also, the previous owners of our house added a 25 by 15-foot room over a crawl space at the back of our house facing west that extends into our backyard, and this is connected internally to our living space. And why I bring this up, it's because similar construction appears to be doable at the 280 Gettsville Road home because the build of our 2 ranch houses and the lot size and the layout of the yards is very similar. Like ours, the backyard length is approximately 200 feet, and this appears to be ample room to expand the first floor living space at the 280 Gettsville property into the backyard behind their existing garage and/or behind their proposed new garage as an alternative to the proposed second-story addition. Moving on to application item number 3, substantial. Is this substantial? This application states the requested variance is not substantial in nature, but in our view and in our review of the application, items number 1, character of the neighborhood, and number 4, which I'll get to, physical or environmental conditions, it appears that the variance is substantial in nature. The variance will produce, as I mentioned, an undesirable change on the character of the neighborhood that consists of single-story ranch homes because it will add approximately 9-foot-high second floor, plus an approximate 7-foot-high pitched roof, as we just discussed. The second point here, the variance fails to address undesirable physical and environmental impact on our property at 272 Gettsville, potentially due to water buildup near our house foundation from runoff of severe rain, snow, or ice melt due to the combination of wind against the proposed new 7-foot-high north-south pitched roof above the 19-foot-high second-story wall facing our one-story ranch property, and the close proximity proposed at 2 feet 4 inches from the property line because of the 1-foot roof overhang of the new wall and pitched roof, as I'll discuss in item number 4 of the application, physical or environmental conditions. So under that application item number 4, physical and environmental conditions, the application fails to address potential undesirable physical and environmental impact on our property at 272 Gettsville Road. The proposed height, approximately 26 feet, and length, approximately 29 feet, of the south wall that includes a new 7-foot-high pitched north-south roof that will extend another 1 foot beyond the new south wall of the house to within 2 feet 4 inches of the property line toward our house would impact rain and snow runoff toward our property and accumulation near the proximity of our house foundation. Rain and snow accumulation could be made worse by the wind tunnel effect between the 2 houses at the proposed closer proximity and with the wind shear against the proposed new 7-foot pitched north-south sloping roof. As a reminder, the roof on the existing garage at 280 Gettsville Road is relatively flat and is approximately 9.5 feet high, and the existing roof sections on the remainder of the house on the north side of the garage have pitched slopes east to west. The requested variance significantly heightens the south wall from 9.5 feet to 26 feet, and this includes a new north-south pitched roof that is 7 feet high and will cover a new longer 29-foot south wall. The variance places the new 29-foot south wall at 3 feet 4 inches from the property line, originally 5 feet from the property line, However, the new 7-foot-high roof will have a 1-foot overhang, which brings the new south wall roof to 2 feet 4 inches from the property line. Also, the new roof over the south wall will have a north-south pitch, and this pitch directly faces our house at 272 Gettsville Road. The reason these dimensions are important is because these are significant changes that could directly impact the physical and environmental conditions of our property at 272 Gettsville Road. The impact would be most noticeable during storm periods of high rain or snow ice melt, given the new 29-foot length, new 26-foot height, new north-south pitched roof facing our house, and the new closer proximity of the 280 Gettsville south wall to the property line and to our house. The property line passageway between our 2 houses is the main access into and out of our backyard. We feel the environmental impact could be significant to our property, potentially causing water buildup with subsequent damage to our house foundation at 272 Gettsville Road. We feel there could be significant environmental impact to our house and property as a result of this variance in the absence of a detailed environmental study taking into account severe wind, rain, and snow ice patterns, which have been experienced in recent years, in combination with the proposed new height, length, and roof pitch toward our house, along with the new closer distance to our property and property line. Finally, application item number 5, not self-created. The application states the need for a variance was not self-created, but this seems to be incorrect because the homeowners at 280 Gettsville Road could build by extension into their backyard, behind the existing garage or the proposed new garage. The variance request doesn't state whether this option was explored, and it seems to be a viable option, as we have discussed under application item number 2 in this report, other alternatives. Thank you. I do have a copy of this if you like.
Sure.
I do have a question, of course. Yeah, wait till she gets back to the, want to bring her back?
Can you come back to the podium?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. I just have one question. I assume you have no objection to the enlargement or the new garage. Your objection is to the second floor addition? It's not a trick question. I'm just trying to, okay with it if they enlarge the garage, but I guess what you're saying is you feel that adding a second floor is out of character with all the other houses in the neighborhood? Or am I wrong with that interpretation?
Yes, well, it's both. It's the combination of both that are causing the problem with the physical and environmental conditions and yes, it's both. It's both. If they were just, enlarging the garage and then putting addition onto the back of the garage, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem. But it's both, and they're saying it's not substantial when in fact it really is if you take a look at it from our point of view in terms of our access and how that roof is pitched toward our house.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I have a question.
Okay.
You've been there for 14 years in your house?
Yes.
Have you made any improvements to your property? I know that Mr. Schubert spoke to the shed that seems to be encroaching on the property line from your property. So what I'm wondering is if you've made any improvements or changes to your property that have also come closer to the property line than the five-foot setback requirement?
No, we have not. We've made internal improvements to the basement, the foundation, but it was all for repair and maintenance.
The shed that was that there when you bought the
That was
house?
there when we bought the house.
Anyone else here to speak on this item? You can come to the podium. Remember to say your name and address into the microphone.
Hello, yes, my name's John Gulick. We're directly to the opposite side of 280 Gettsville at 288 Gettsville Road. We've been there since 2015. When we moved in, we did a addition to the front going to the street of our house, but we have not, we haven't changed the footprint at all. And the 5-foot setback at all these houses on Getchville Road is very narrow to speak of. Changing it to a 3-foot setback, you can barely get a lawnmower through there. So that's one of the opposing things I have. Another thing is, it's possible it's going to change the density of that home. There might be more occupants there. It's going to potentially change the density, and it's going to definitely change the character. We bought at 288 Getchville Road because the character of the neighborhood. They're all single-family homes. They're all ranch homes, and we like the character of that. This is going to change. It's going to be a big thing that's going to be to the neighborhood, and it's going to potentially change it. And it's going to set a precedent. It might set a precedent if someone puts this 2-story thing here, then what's going to stop someone over here to do it or someone over here to do it? So those are my things, so.
All right. Yep, thank you. Make sure your name is written down and your address onto the sheets.
Okay.
Anyone else here to speak on this item? Please come to the podium.
Thank you.
I think you make a motion. Wrote it down.
Got it. Thanks. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure. I should know those things, but
I know.
it should, you know.
Yes, good evening. My name is Joseph Schretzman. I also live at 272 Getchville Road. We're being opposed to the variance. Yeah, as far as the question about the character of the neighborhood, we were talking in the plan of looking at a blank end wall, approximately 8 foot from our property, nearly 20 feet tall. Yeah, for scale, that's comparable to stacking 2 medium school buses on top of each other. The bottom section of the garage is 29 feet long by about 10 feet high. The occupied section would be about 25 feet long by, again, 10 feet. That's 540 square feet of a blank end wall. The application would replace a garage that has a side profile right now of about 250 square feet and has a window halfway along the way. As Kim noted, the existing garage has a low slope roof that drains entirely on the 280 Getchville lot. This wall would be visually inconsistent with a single-family residential neighborhood. This wall would be visually inconsistent with the rest of the block of ranch-style single-family homes. It would be visible from several lots either side of the property. The lots are 75 foot 70 each. You're talking several hundred feet either side. This property will stand out.
Sir, can I just interrupt you? Because I just want you're the husband of the land,
We're not married.
or I'm sorry, you live in the same
Yes.
house, I'm sorry. And I just want to kind of cut to the chase because I think that your partner made some of the arguments that you're
Okay,
putting forward
yes.
now. But the part of the chase that I want to cut to is to kind of reaffirm what the chair was saying is that we need to know how a 5-foot to a 3-foot setback changes the character of the neighborhood, not the second story. So if you could maybe speak to that specifically, or at least that's my inquiry. It's not we are not looking at the second story, and I understand that that's a
Yeah.
concern, but what I need for you is to tell me specifically how a 5-foot to a 3-foot setback changes the character of your neighborhood.
Yes, there's a circular logic in the claim for the variance. Setbacks exist for multiple reasons, which are all based on the impact of one building on another. Simply moving a 9-foot wall 3 foot closer probably is not a substantial impact. Moving a 20-foot wall or installing a new 20-foot wall 3 foot closer to the property line will be a substantial difference and will substantially ignore what setbacks are designed to create. As Kim noted, you will go from a 10-foot fairly open corridor between the two buildings to an 8-foot, 20-foot high tunnel with a 29-foot extension.
And to your point, I'm sorry. I think your partner had mentioned like that side of your residence is your main access point to
Yes.
the rear of your yard?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
As Mr. Gallick mentioned, yeah, we believe this would also set a precedent for other people seeking similar variances. I was going to mention several other properties where, in addition to ours, people have built additions at the back, on the back wall of the house without violating any of the setbacks. And if you look at maps, you'll see most of the houses along Gettsville are no longer the 30 by 50 foot ranch with a single garage that they were built as. Various neighbors have combined the main structure with the garage and built out behind rather than up.
If they were to build a one-story addition with the granted setback, would you have a problem with it being a one-story with that 3 feet into the setback?
I'm aware that, for example, the state may be looking at additional, say, renewable fuel mandates. So one could imagine where you not actually need to widen a garage to include power equipment, battery storage, and so forth. And again, would require extending the footprint of the garage, but not necessarily the height of the garage. If someone needed additional access for mobility purposes to get a scooter in and out of a vehicle or a ramp from the garage into the house, again, one could say, yes, adjusting the width of the garage and the setback to accommodate that would make sense. To do this just for additional living space when again, the standard for the neighborhood has been to build into one's backyard. Again, allowing this easement or this variance for that purposes, including a second story, changes the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one, and since we have the architect right here, the left elevation, it's one of the items in the plan. The scale is marked on the bottom as 1/4 to 1 foot. I took a ruler to that. When I scaled it, the bottom line on the printed is about 6 inches. That would scale up to 24 feet. The vertical elevation comes out at about 5¼ feet, which scales up to 21 feet. The actual size of the addition is 29 foot along the bottom line and about 27 feet at the peak. So we're not sure if there was just an inaccurate representation in the plans, or if that is something the architect can explain.
All right, thank you. Is anyone else here to speak on this item? All right, Mr. Sutton, you want to come back?
Thank you.
So there's appears to be some neighbor opposition to this proposal. It's generally our recommendation to try to meet and discuss this with the neighbors. It did not sound like that happened prior to this meeting. I believe you indicated beforehand that you made an outreach. It would be my recommendation for you to do that. However, if you want to proceed tonight, we can take a vote, but we don't know where it's going to
No,
land.
I mean, obviously, I respect the board's offer to do that. I would always want to sit and talk with the neighbors. I do want to make just a couple of comments, and one of which is there is some ability from a design standpoint. It is a fire-rated wall, but they do allow for some punched openings. If the request of the neighbors was to add some architectural features, whether it be through windows, whether it be through difference in materials or anything, definitely be in a position to do that. I can assure you that any drainage plan that would be associated with this would have a clear documentation of no impact of water from this property or this addition coming onto the neighboring property. And it is important to note too that the neighbor directly to the left of the proposed addition is currently in nonconformance too. It's a perfect representation of the neighborhood, how tight that neighborhood is and how valuable every foot is. So what I would like to do is maybe request for this board to table this item, and I will try to meet with the neighbors and maybe come back to you with maybe a better version of this proposal. And hopefully we can come together and come up with something that might be acceptable to all parties.
One of the questions I'll probably have when you come back is to speak to the neighbor's point, alternatives of building out into the back, since that seems to be a potential customary track of the neighborhood.
Yeah. I will review that. We did explore a bunch of different options, obviously not represented this evening.
Sometimes it's not viable. I
This
think
is
if
the
it's
best
not, we need to know
alternative.
that.
And, it's my opinion, as well as it was stated by the board, that the request is for a side yard setback, not for a height. So it's very important to know that. But that does not mean we're not going to be willing to work with the neighbors if at all possible.
Thank you. We appreciate
All right.
that. Could I get a
to adjourn.
Second?
motion by member
you.
Schubert, second by member Phillips to adjourn? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes. The adjournment passes 5-0. On to the fifth item of tonight's agenda, 1725 Campbell Road. Would the applicant please come to the podium? Please say your name and address into the microphone, and make sure it's written on the sheet on there as well.
Yeah, my name is Gary Berger, 1725 Campbell Boulevard, and we're looking to build an additional storage shed.
So you're my notes indicate that the reason you're requesting a zoning variance is that your shed would be 480 square feet of building area, and the zoning ordinance limits any additional accessory buildings to 90 feet. You wanted to discuss why you're asking for that size of a shed?
Yes.
Could you explain?
We're just looking to get a little more storage space for, lawn equipment, garden equipment, stuff like that. Just running out of space, so just picked a reasonable sized shed I thought would fit my needs.
Okay. Any member of the board have a question for the applicant? Any member of the audience here to speak on this item? Okay, we'll close the hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by member Gergen, second by member Parker. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. We're now in several items from Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems. The first is 515 Park Club.
Good morning. Good evening, members of the board. Jared Lusk with Nixon Peabody, representing Verizon Wireless. With me, the gentleman in the front row to the left is Patrick Mackybuyer. He's the RF design engineer responsible for the network here in Erie County. And Nico Facey is is Verizon's real estate consultant responsible for the acquisition of the sites themselves from the National Grid, et cetera. The need for the project has been well documented. This is a map created by the planning department to show you where in the town each of these, what was going to be 7 sites. There were actually 3 additional sites that didn't require a special use permit. They were by zoning approval only. So these were the 7. Again, now based on the discussions we had today regarding the address on the plans, we withdrew that. If you can keep scrolling forward, the need for the site, here are the sites in place. Again, these are all 10 of them. Again, 3 of them have already been processed because they didn't require a special use permit. But you can see that the project, if you keep going, this is the Herxley small cell. Keep going. I gave you the entire package. If you go back oops. The primary objectives for this site, again, the existing, Verizon's existing Williamsville site, and we can scroll through a series, and I know I've presented on this before. The existing Williamsville site is currently well overloaded. And so in addition, if you recall, this board recently approved the relocation of the facility from the Amherst water tank owned by the Erie County Water Authority to the town park adjacent on a lighting tower. That tower is a little bit shorter than the current water tank, but that was the best site that worked from both the town and Verizon perspective. As a result of those 2 things, there's some areas of town that both need additional capacity and additional coverage because that Amherst water tank site was reduced in height. The primary objectives of these sites are to increase capacity and improve coverage in the localized high traffic areas throughout portions of the town, more specifically along Briar Row, Lock Lee, Mayfair Lane, Charming Lane, Woodley Road, Scammon Ridge Curve, I-90, the Thruway, Park Club Lane, Route 240, Harlem Road, Kings Highway, Hamilton Drive, and Bernhardt Drive, as well as the surrounding area. If you keep scrolling down, again, I know you've all had the opportunity, keep scrolling, to review this information in the package. Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. All right, so this is the existing capacity. This is the traffic that's on the Williamsville facility. The red line in the middle is the maximum capacity. You can see that throughout the past year at various times, the traffic well exceeded the site's capacity. Keep scrolling. You'll see that consistently from different ways to measure it. If you keep going, I won't stop on each one. Keep going. Keep going. Again, this is the need for it. Again, keep going. Again, different ways to measure the traffic. And again, this accounts for all 12 of the sites, all 12 of them. If you keep going down, so you can see that this is an explanation of the coverage. You can see the 2 existing sites in the vicinity, up in the upper right corner, and the one in the middle. You can see those sites are basically in the area in the vicinity, in the gap in between. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see these sites. You'll see the existing Williamsville right in the middle, and you see a whole number of additional sites. So the Williamsville antenna in the middle is facing these areas. If you keep scrolling, upon completion of these, you'll see what turns green from this site. So these small cells are nice infill ways to provide additional coverage and capacity in the town. The town has entered into an agreement with Verizon Wireless to allow
Can you please, if you're having conversations, please take it outside of the room?
to allow Verizon to install these facilities in the right of way. And this board has approved a number of them. If you keep scrolling down, we can get into, again, this is just different ways to show you the lack of coverage and what's going to be proposed, what's going to be provided by all of this group of small cells. Again, that is all about why we're doing what we're doing. And then we're going to get into the specifics of each site. I can tell you, I can get into the specifics of each site, but I can tell you in each one of these instances, just to summarize, we are replacing existing utility poles with utility poles that are approximately 4 feet higher than what are currently proposed. And Verizon is then installing a microcell that you've seen dozens and dozens of times before on the top of the replacement utility pole. And you can see this one, and again, I'm going to have difficulty. I'm not quite sure if you can zoom just a smidge with my eyes. You can see that, for example, this is 2983 is the height of the existing, 29.17, and the utility pole goes to 34 feet. So it's an approximately 4.5, depending on the measurements of each pole. And the microcell is attached to the top of the replacement pole, and a 2x4, 2 foot by 4 foot cabinet and electric meters installed at the base of the tower. That is the same design. Again, there is some difference within a couple of inches on each site. We've shown each existing utility pole. We've shown, so you can scroll through. They're roughly about 29 feet, and they go. That's the installation at the top. If you go to the next, this is the. You keep scrolling, you have the address. Again, this one is 29, and again, over there it's about 34. So each one of them is measured a little bit different, but it's based really about replacing and adding the facility to the individual pole. We can go, I know the board, there might be people here to speak about individual cases. We're scrolling past the addresses again, but the design is substantially the same for each site. So if the board has questions about the design, I can answer them generally. If there's specific concerns about individual sites, I guess we can wait and see if the board has questions about those, or we can answer them. But with that, I don't think there's much more to it than those designs based on what we're doing.
All right, is there any questions for the applicant from any member of the board?
I just had one.
Member Schubert?
Just one question. Do you happen to have a picture of what the finished product looks like?
Each one of the applications is a simulation package. I can show you what one is. I didn't.
That's all. I was just curious as to,
Excuse me, the cabinet, about how far up off grade is that?
Yeah, here you go. So that's
Yeah.
the cabinet. In each,
thank you.
yes, it's not anything that anyone can reach without a ladder.
Thanks.
That's the design that you see there.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other questions for the applicant? All right, so I'm going to read the addresses for these properties. If any member of the audience is here to speak on any of these properties, please indicate so while I'm reading them out. If not, we'll just take them in a batch then. So the first one is 515 Park Club Lane. The second is 85 Woodley Road. The third is 353 Park Club Lane. The fourth is 203 North Linden Street. The fifth is 225 South Union Road. And the sixth is 277 Kings Highway. Okay. It isn't. No, that one's being withdrawn. Or adjourned.
It's adjourned, so I want to make sure.
Yeah, we're going to adjourn that one. All right, we got to do negative decks on each. So is there a motion for a negative deck on 515 Park Club Lane?
I'll move it.
Motion by member Schubert, second by member Phillips. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And member Gergen abstained. Member Gergen's going to abstain from each of these next votes, so he doesn't need to specify for that. All right, so, and then for approval for 515 Park Club Lane, is there a motion?
Move to approve?
Motion by member Phillips,
Second.
second by member Parker. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0. The next one is 85 Woodley Road. Is there a motion for a negative deck?
Move to approve?
Motion by member Phillips. Is there a second? Second by member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The negative deck passes 4-0. Motion for approval on 85 Woodley Road. Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Motion by member Phillips.
Second.
Second by member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion for approval?
Negative deck. The negative deck.
We did,
I thought the last one we did was the negative deck. Where's that approval?
we did.
We
Doesn't
did.
hurt to do it again.
All right, so motion for approval for 85 Woodley.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes 4-0. Next item is 353 Park Club Lane. Motion for negative deck. Motion by Member Phillips.
Second.
Second by Member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Motion for approval for 353 Park Club Lane special use permits. Motion by Member Phillips.
Second.
Second by Member Schubert. All
Eric is abstaining just from the one.
from all of them.
Okay, then it's not, it's 3-0. Oh, 4-0.
4-0.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. Okay.
That was for the approval. We had a motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That passes 4-0. All right, negative deck for 203 North Linden Street.
So moved.
Negative deck motion by Member Phillips, second by Member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes 4-0. Motion for approval for 203 North Linden Street.
So moved.
Motion by Member Phillips,
Second.
second by Member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. 225 South Union Road. Motion for negative deck.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Member Phillips, second by Member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Motion to approve the special use permit for 225 South Union Road.
So moved.
Motion by Member Phillips,
Second.
second by Member Schubert.
Oh, you want to get in here?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes 4-0. All right, 227 Kings Highway. Motion for negative deck. Motion by Member Parker.
Second.
Second by Member Phillips. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Motion for approve the special use permits for 227 Kings Highway. Motion by Member Parker.
Second.
Second by Member Phillips. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 4-0. And then motion to adjourn to 4625 Harlem Road.
So moved.
Motion by Member Parker, second by Member Phillips. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0.
Just to confirm, that's on the next zoning board of appeals agenda. Getting, assuming we get that address change.
Yes.
Okay, we'll send that in right away.
All right, thank you. All right, now the next item on tonight's agenda is 32, 44, 52, 68, 76, 84, 92, and 102 River Oak Lane. Please come to the podium, say your name and address into the microphone, and make sure it's written down on the sheet of paper in front of on the podium.
Ken Zouch with the engineering firm GPI here tonight on behalf of the developer Natali Builders, 4950 Genesee Street, Buffalo, New York. Here tonight to request a variance of 10 feet for rear yard setbacks on 9 lots in Miller's Crossing subdivision. This would change the rear yard from 30 feet to 20 feet in the back. The reason why we're here is because following the development, the private utility companies, the electric and the gas company, come in and install their lines. The gas company managed to install their lines pretty much right along the front setback of these 9 lots. And due to the proximity, we could no longer put any of the homes along the front setback just because you can't have the foundation right next to the gas line. So because of that, for these 9 lots, we have to push those houses back. Due to that, we're decreasing the rear yard, and with the rear yard setback, they do have 4 models that they're looking to construct there. These models have already gone through the state attorney general as part of the homeowners association agreements that they have prepared. 2 of those models would no longer fit within the footprint, given the 30-foot rear yard setback and now a front setback instead of 30 feet that we're going to be closer to 35 to 40 feet. So because of that, we're here for the variance so that all of their models can still be constructed. And it's a new neighborhood. There's not a lot of existing homes. I know there are some along the street already, but we don't believe that it's a significant impact. And this is all going to be HOA lands as well, generally HOA maintained lands, sorry. The individual homeowners will own the property, but there are restrictions on there. Of course, I don't have the full list in terms of pools and sheds, but typically we don't see a lot of sheds in this area where something like a smaller rear yard setback would impact them, given the fact that it is HOA, so a lot of times they have the lawn maintenance service provided for the entire development or for this section of the development. So can take any questions.
Is there any questions for the applicant?
So there are some models that wouldn't actually impinge on the setback, you're saying, depending on which.
If we weren't granted this variance, there would be 2 out of the 4 models would impact and would not meet the 30-foot rear yard setback.
I just have one question. Is this a condominium or a homeowners association?
To be honest, I don't know. Apologize, I'm the site engineer, not the developer. Certainly there's an HOA. I do not know if it's considered, if they fall under condo status or not. It's not a condominium in the sense that the people that are moving in here will own their lot. So they don't just own the footprint of the house. They do own the lot themselves. So they do have rights to their property to do what they want under the rules and restrictions of the HOA. Whether it's condo status or not, I can't comment on that.
This variance is only affecting your own property. It's not affecting anybody else.
That is correct. And it's only this side of the street that it impacts. The other side of the street, some of the lots were a little bit deeper, so we did not have to seek a variance for that because all the model homes could fit within the town required setbacks.
Any more questions? Any member of the audience here to speak on this item? All right, we'll close the hearing then. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by member Schubert,
Second.
second by member Gergen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes 5-0. Thank you very much. The next item on tonight's agenda is 1260 Smith Road. Would the applicant please come to the podium? All right, we'll adjourn on that item. Is there a motion? We push it to the end. Just push that to the end.
Just in case.
All right, the next item on tonight's agenda then is 1692 Maple Road.
Yes, good evening, Chairman and members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Sean Hopkins from the law firm of Hopkins, Sorgi, and McCarthy. On behalf of the applicant, 1692 Maple Road LLC. We're here this evening in connection with 3 requested area variances for a proposed single-story surgery center to be located at 1692 Maple Road, which is the northeast intersection of Maple Road and Air, as you can see on the right-hand side of the first slide. The size of that particular surgery center is approximately 9,000 square feet. Next slide. The survey of the project site. What's important to note here is because we have frontage on both Youngs Road and Maple Road, it constitutes a corner lot, which triggers obviously increased setbacks on both of those sides. Next slide. Aerial photograph. Next slide. And I do want to note this is currently a vacant parcel, and it's been that way as long as I can remember. Just in terms of this particular slide, I want to note the proximity to Millard Fillmore Suburban Hospital. Obviously, there are various medical uses in that area. That's one of the reasons my client has selected this particular site for their brand new state-of-the-art surgery center. Next slide. So here's the site plan. It's also important to note this project is pending before the planning board, and they'll be holding a public hearing on Thursday evening. As I indicated, it's a 9,000 square foot surgery center, 36 parking spaces. We are showing a fence along the eastern property line. The property directly next door at 1700 Maple Road is zoned R3 and is a single family home. We were asked to provide 30 feet of permanent open space on the rear portion of the site, which is the north. There's some pretty extensive vegetation there, so we're going to leave that untouched. The planning department asked us to show a future potential driveway connection to the adjacent parcel of 1700 Maple Road. So we showed that. It is important to note that the driveway location itself was approved by the town board on April 28th of this year in connection with the rezoning of this property from R3 to OB, Office Building District. Next slide. So we're asking for 3 variances as follows. Variance number 1 is for the setback from Young's Road. The zoning code would require 35 feet again because this is a corner lot and we're at 5 feet. It is important to note there is extensive green space in the right-of-way in that particular area, and at the closest distance, we're 17.3 feet from the actual edge of pavement. Variance number 2 pertains to
How many feet from the edge of pavement?
17.3 feet over on the right-hand side there. And Mr. Schubert, as you head north, it actually increases pretty dramatically. I would say that the northwest corner of the building's about 25 feet. Variance number 2 is for the side yard setback from the eastern property line. And again, we're showing a fence there. The zoning code would require 30 feet, and we're showing 15 feet. And then finally, that little yellow area is a mechanical area for transformer, backup generator, et cetera, et cetera. And the zoning code would also require that to be 30 feet, and we're at 18 feet. Next slide. The elevation plan. The project architect is Carmina Wood Design. They spent a great deal of time working with the doctors and the project team in terms of the appearance of the building. Next slide. Lighting plan, just to show everyone there is no lighting impacts whatsoever off-site. Next slide. Landscape plan. So one thing you'll notice if you drive by this site today, it's relatively barren with the exception of the back portion. In connection with the pending request for site plan approval, you can see we're adding extensive green space on all 4 sides. 50% of the site in its developed state will be green space, showing 85 trees, 47 bushes, and 54 ornamental grasses. Believe it or not, 23 different types in total. That landscape plan has been submitted to the town's landscape architect for review and has been approved. Next slide. It's also important to note this project is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, which was the basis for the town board's rezoning of the site on April 28th of this year. Next slide. And then most importantly, the balancing test and the 5 criteria, which as you hear again and again, require to balance the benefits that will be received by the applicant if the requested relief is granted and weigh those against any resulting harm to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood community. In terms of the 5 criteria, which we've dealt with in the application itself, criteria number 1 is our position that granting the requested relief will not result in an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. Criteria number 2, there is really no feasible way to develop this site at all for commercial purposes without variances, given again that we have 2 front yards and a side yard setback of 30 feet. If we imposed all of those setbacks on this particular site, we'd be left with an office building with a width of about 42 feet, which obviously would not be feasible. Criteria number 3, whether the requested relief is substantial. The key there is whether any harm will result, and we believe it won't. As I indicated, we are providing extensive screening, including a 6-foot fence along the eastern property line. Criteria number 4, whether the granting of the requested relief will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The answer to that question is no. And then finally, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The only thing I would note here is, again, we are a corner lot, so development of this particular site as it exists today without any relief would be nearly impossible. With that being said, nonetheless, if you find it to be the result of a self-created difficulty, the overall balancing test and the 4 criteria provide ample and strong justification for the granting the requested relief. With that being said, if there's any questions, I'd welcome the opportunity to address them. Otherwise, I would ask that you grant the 3 requested area variances as proposed.
Ron, you want to ask a
Yeah,
question?
my question is, I know you have a problem both on the east side and on the Young's Road side. Has any consideration been given to pushing it more toward the east? Let's say 5 feet from the line and then adding, then you'd be 10 feet more from.
Yeah, the only reason we're showing 15 feet on that side, Mr. Schubert, is that is a single-family home on that particular side. So we had to decide where to seek relief, and given that I think that we're far enough back from the pavement, and I can't envision any scenario where Young's Road gets wider than 4 travel lanes, we thought that was the appropriate balance.
But it could be moved
It could.
to the east.
Yeah.
Where is the single-family home in reference to your drawing? That's
Go,
what I'm-
can you go back a couple slides, James? To the closer view of the aerial? There you can see it.
I see the lot lines, but where's the building going to be?
Yeah, do you see the parcel directly to the east, which is the right. You can see there's a ranch up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
But where's your building going to be?
Oh, our building is basically directly adjacent to the house at
So it is
1700 Maple
adjacent
Road.
to.
It is.
Okay, but
Because we're complying with the setback on Maple Road. It would look super awkward if we tried to go closer.
but you could move it to the east.
We could, but it would be closer to that house.
Understood. The
And
house
if
that wa-
ultimately the board thought that was better,
the house that was there before, there was a split level house there before. Do you know how far that was from the lot line?
no, but I know it definitely didn't comply with the front yard setback along Young's Road. I do remember that house.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if maybe that was only 5 feet from the line.
I would think it was a little bit bigger than that because the building wasn't as big as a 9,000 square foot office building. If I had to guess, I'd guess 25 feet, 20 feet.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the house that was there before.
Oh, the
was-
house was closer. Yeah, the house that was previously there would have been closer to 1700 Maple Road than what we're proposing. Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering how far it was from the line.
I would say it was either 10 feet or 5 feet, if I had to guess. Most of those are about
That's
5 feet
that's what
apart.
I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So I
But
mean,
again,
if you moved it east, you might be
Right.
moving it back to where the house was.
Yeah, it would. Again, we're just trying to be respectful for that particular neighbor.
Any other questions from the applicant? All right, is any member of the audience here to speak on this item? Please come to the podium. Say your name and address into the microphone and make sure it's written on the podium as well.
Name is Julian Chinana. I live at 1700 Maple Road.
He wants it moving east.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Julian Chinana. I live directly next to the lot that's under consideration tonight. I want to make clear that I'm not opposed to development of the property itself. What I am opposed to is a request for a variance that would allow the developer to build much closer to both my property line and the road on Young's, closer than what the code allows. These setback requirements exist for a reason. They protect neighbors, they protect the drainage and safety, and they preserve the character of the community. My property already struggles with standing water during heavy rains and snow melt. If this variance is granted, the additional impervious surfaces and reduced green space will almost certainly make that worse for me, as well as the town's stormwater system. I'm also very concerned about the request to allow mechanical equipment within 18 feet of my property line instead of 30. That type of equipment generates noise, vibration, and runoff, and right now the setback provides the only buffer that I have. Cutting it nearly in half would unfairly impact my home's livability and potentially its value. This is not a case of hardship. The developer can still make reasonable use of this property within the rules. Granting this variance would set a precedent that weakens the zoning code and favors profit over homeowners. Excuse me. And invites more exceptions in the future. I respectfully urge the board to deny this variance request and to uphold the protections that all of us, your residents, have relied on when we chose to invest in our homes in this town. Thank you for your consideration.
Does anybody have a question for the presenter?
Well, maybe I do. Did you live in your home when the house next door was existing?
Yes.
Do you know how far that house was from the line?
I don't know exactly how far. I would say it was probably about 10 to 15 feet.
Thank you.
And that was also a single-family home.
Yes, right. Thank you.
Is anyone else here to speak on this item? All right, thank you. Mr. Hopkins, would you like to address the comments?
Yeah, so to address the concerns, number one, drainage. There's absolutely no stormwater management system on this site, nor the adjacent parcel. I know it's contrary to what most people think, we'll actually be improving the drainage. We are installing a stormwater management system. It'll be designed to handle the 100-year storm event. You can see it there. It's fairly large in size. In terms of the setbacks, I think we've provided justification. I do want to note that the final exact location of the generator and transformer have not been determined. National Grid usually comes on your site and tells you exactly where that would be. So we're asking that for that variance. If we can move it further away, we certainly will. But we did tuck it around the corner of that building to shield it from noise. In terms of screening along the common property line, we're currently showing, again, a 6-foot fence with extensive green space. If the adjoining property owner would like to take a closer look at that prior to the planning board hearing on Thursday evening, we'd be glad to have that discussion. Otherwise, I do think there's ample justification for the grant of the requested relief. I also want to note that, again, 1700 Maple Road is a single-family home, owner-occupied at this point in time, and who knows, may continue to be so for a long time, depending on the current property owner. But because of the proximity to Maple Road in that busy corner, the planning department has asked us to show a future access easement. So if and when that property owner wants to sell that property, consider redeveloping it for commercial purposes, they would have the opportunity to connect into our site and have direct access to Youngs Road. And again, I'm not saying they should do that, but we've preserved that opportunity for the future.
We generally only speak once, so I'll close the hearing for now. Does any member of the board want to make any comments, make a motion?
I have a comment. I'm still struggling with the distance from Young's Road. I'm not sure if this is safe or not safe. I don't know what sort of review this has gone through.
It has been reviewed.
Obviously, if your building is one story.
It is one story.
And from what I understand, it's further away from the lot line than the previous residence was.
Right.
But from what I'm hearing. But I'm just wondering if the distance from Young's Road has been explored and commented on.
So this project has been reviewed and approved by the town's Traffic Safety Board. And secondly, it was also referred to the Erie County Department of Public Works, which has jurisdiction over that intersection, including all the way back to that building. And they issued a memorandum last week saying it's of local concern, meaning no one has expressed any concerns.
I'm sorry, they said what?
It's of local concern, meaning they did not have any substantive comments. It's also important to note that in your zoning code, you have what's called a clear vision triangle requirement, and this does comply with that requirement.
I think part of it is the right-of-way isn't the edge of the pavement, it comes into the grass.
And it is the exact same layout in terms of the building that's been reviewed by the planning board and the town board previously. Again, requires relief from you, but we have not changed the plans.
So we have neighbor opposition to this,
Right.
the applicants.
But this building is further away from the neighbor's home than the prior residence.
Right, I mean, I think the difference is one was a residence, one's a 9,000-foot surgery center. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
I think it's
Okay.
apples and oranges.
All right.
And again, given that the adjoining property owner tonight has expressed concerns about the setbacks, I don't want to push that. I don't want to offer to push that building any closer to his home. I don't think it's needed.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I'd like to see if we can work together and see if he wants some additional screening. We can certainly work with him on it.
Why don't we, do you need to approve this tonight, or can we give you time to talk to the neighbors some more? Or do you want, or maybe if you'd like talk between now and the end of the meeting, you can.
That we could do after I have one other one
Yep.
come up before the end. Yeah, we'll do that.
Why don't we do, okay. All right, the next item on tonight's agenda is 1760 Maple Road. Would the applicant please come to the podium? To
Good evening once again. Sean Hopkins on behalf of the applicant, 1760 Maple Road LLC. Also with me this evening is Paul Bliss. It's a project you've seen before on 2 separate occasions. We're back for what I believe is 1 minor variance. Go to the next slide. I think we all remember the project site. When you originally reviewed it, it was 3 separate parcels, 1720, 1740, and 1760 Maple Road. We closed on this property late last year and now have merged them all into a single parcel at 1760 Maple Road. Just to acclimate everyone, the previous hearing was on 1692 Maple Road, so you can see we're literally just 2 parcels to the east. Next slide. The site was previously zoned DC5 by the town board. We're showing a mixed-use project, 2 buildings, Building 1 and then Building 2. Building 2 is the only thing that we're presenting to you this evening. That building is a mixed-use building with 7,000 square feet of first-floor commercial space in the southern portion of the building facing Maple Road and 32 apartments. We also are showing townhomes, garages, extensive screening. This project was extremely well vetted over the course of now what's been a 3-year review process. It's also important to note that Mr. Bliss is anxious to finally break ground and plans to do so prior to the arrival of inclement weather. Next slide. Color building renderings. So again, the only focus here is on the top right-hand side. That is the front facade of the mixed-use building that's perpendicular with Maple Road, which will have first-floor commercial space and multifamily units for lease above. And you can see a great deal of time and effort was spent in terms of the appearance and architecture of this building, including multiple reviews by the town's design advisory board, input from the planning board, as well as numerous meetings with planning department staff and other town departments. Next slide. This is showing building number 2. And where I have drawn that arrow, that is the side that we're focusing on tonight. Again, the Maple Road facade of the mixed-use building that's perpendicular to Maple Road. And then if you look on the bottom, that is what would be the east side of that building facing towards air. And you can see where the break is between the first floor commercial space and then a couple of residential units on the back or northern portion of that building. Next slide. I'm not going to go through the review process, but the most important thing here is number 1, both the planning board and town board have previously reviewed and approved this project. Then if you go to the next slide, it's also been reviewed and approved by the design advisory board. Again, the design advisory board, their objective is to look at architecture, materials, appearance of the buildings. We spent a great deal of time, and during their meeting on September 28th of 2023, they recommended approval by a unanimous vote. You subsequently granted a couple minor variances on October 17th, and then the planning board approved the project on October 19th. The additional relief that we're seeking this evening was only identified within the past couple of months. Next slide. Next slide. So why are we here? The variance that we're seeking this evening is from what's known as Section 5A49F and 5A49G of the zoning code, which deals with transparency in a mixed-use building. Keep in mind, this is the only portion of either Building 1 or Building 2 that consists of commercial space on the first floor and multifamily above. So what we're showing on the first floor is 19.71% transparency on the Maple Road side. On the east side, we comply versus the 60% required. And then on the upper floors, above the commercial space, we're showing 14.1% versus a requirement of 20%. Again, project has been reviewed and approved, including the design advisory board. It's been fully designed. Construction level drawings have been prepared at a cost of much more than $100,000. So to go back to the drawing board and start revisiting this would be extremely problematic. Next slide. And there you can see a close-up of the relevant side of the building. Again, the top being the south side facing Maple, the bottom being the east side, including the commercial space facing towards Air Road. And I think we can all agree the materials are nice. There's a lot of vertical articulation, horizontal articulation, different heights of the facade. So we've really made an effort to incorporate everything. Next slide. There's a landscape plan, and you can see we are providing extensive landscaping, including directly in front of that building along Maple Road. Next slide. So this is governed by the balancing test and the 5 criteria. And to quickly summarize, the benefits are quite clear. In the absence of the granting of the requested relief, we literally have to go back to the drawing board, retain the architect again, and start modifying those previously approved drawings again that are ready to be submitted for a building permit application. It's clear this will not result in any undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. At this point in time, there simply are no feasible alternatives, meaning the additional costs and, more importantly, the lengthy delay that would result would be extremely problematic and would push this project off until 2026. Next slide. We don't think the requested relief is substantial. Again, no harm. Design Advisory Board recommended approval by unanimous vote. Will it result in any adverse effects or impacts on physical or environmental conditions? No. This project has been the subject of numerous environmental reviews, all of which resulted in the issuance of negative declarations. And finally, whether or not the alleged difficulty is self-created. And I guess it could be viewed that way, but keeping in mind that this particular variance was not identified until after we had received site plan approval, we think it can be viewed as not being self-created as well. So with all that being said, respectfully, we would ask that you grant the requested relief. And if there's any questions, either myself or Mr. Bliss would welcome the opportunity to address them. Thank you.
Member Schubert has a question.
Help me understand this. This sounds absolutely ridiculous. You're talking about the south facade, and what do they want here? All glass for the whole side?
They want 60% transparency on the
What
first
does
floor.
transparency mean?
Glass.
Real glass that you can see through?
Yes.
Or can you put up fake glass?
No, real.
that you can't see
I'll
through?
defer to the planning department, but it's real glass. Transparency.
And why?
I don't know. I didn't write the code. And just so you know, Paul would know that if you do that, it's almost impossible to build in terms of construction, meaning you have so much of it now being transparent glass that in terms of supporting a 4-story building, it becomes very challenging.
Right.
It could. I mean, you can, again, at a cost, you can deal with it, but
I guess I just don't understand.
yeah, I'd have to defer.
reason.
I defer to the town on that because it's in the code.
Any other questions for the applicant? Is any member of the audience here to speak on this item? We'll close the hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Member by Mayor Schubert, second by Member Phillips. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda for tonight is 2016 Dodge Road. Would the applicant please come to the podium?
That's my place.
We'll save that for the end, see if the individual shows up. Next item on tonight's agenda is 28 Pierpoint Avenue. Please say your name and address in the microphone and make sure it's written on the sheet on the podium as well.
Leslie Granville, and the address is 28 Pierpont, Williamsville. Good evening. I'm here to request the special use permit for my residential property of 23 years for the accessory dwelling unit, the pilot program that the town of Amherst has. And this is going to be in scale under 800 square feet, addition to my residence in the back of the house. They'll have a separate entrance for my disabled son with cerebral palsy, so he'll be able to navigate into the home, into an independent space for his living needs where he can't live alone. So my neighbors, when I applied for this program, were all happy for us and hoping that we would get it, and we were one of the finalists that did get it. Actually, my architect is here. He can speak to the actual drawings, but basically it's going to be an addition that's on the back of the house. It won't encroach on any of the neighbors' properties. And we're hoping that we will get the special use permit approved.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the applicant? All right, is any member of the audience here to speak on this item? All right, we'll close the hearing then. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by member Schubert, second by member Parker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next two items on tonight's agenda is 60 Smith Road. Would the applicant please come to the podium?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
One's area variance, and others are development.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry. Apologies. What, I was in the hallway. What item is this?
60 Smith Road.
Yes, 60 Smith Road. That's us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The first one is the area variance.
Yes. Thank you. For the record, Jake Metzger with Metzger Engineering. Also with me this evening is Kevin and Holly Weiss. They are the owners of the property. What we're here tonight to ask is two items. First is to create a lot that does not meet the 200-foot minimum lot width, and to also allow an open development area which would allow a single-family home that does not have frontage on the street, Smith Road. So the property in question, 60 Smith Road, is an existing lot, has two structures on it now, a two-story frame house, which my clients live in now, Kevin and Holly. And the existing width is actually not compliant with the code. It is only 176 and change width. So what they're asking is to create a lot to the rear of that. Reason being, they love the neighborhood. They've lived there for decades. They don't want to leave, but they're empty nesters. They want to downsize. They don't want to maintain the large house they have now. And the plan would be to build a two-story single-family residence off of the existing garage they have in the rear of the property now, which you can see in the blue polygon.
So what is the width of the front?
The width of the frontage at the road is 176.87 is what the surveyor said.
It's probably like 138 if you.
Yeah, it's not on a street exactly. It's a skew, so it would be 138 feet based on the existing width of the lot now.
So there's no way to split this lot other than ask for this variance.
Correct. It's an existing lot, existing condition. There's no other way to do that. Correct. Those are pretty much the talking points. I could go through the 5 criteria, but we can get into more detail if you guys wish. I don't think it's warranted at this point, but we can take any questions that you may have.
Could we hear from the owners on the reason for this request?
Yeah. Kevin.
Why do you want to split your lot and build a second house there?
The reason why I'd like to split the house, we've talked about this for 10 years, is that I've lived here 38 years and I've lived here almost my entire life in Amherst. We picked this when we first just after second year we were married. We decided we love this area. We built this house. Right now, our kids, I have a daughter that lives on Smith. She built a brand new house. I have a son that lives in Lockport. I have a granddaughter that all live in the same area. We don't want to move from that area, but the house is too big for us now that the kids are out and all that. So we already have an existing pole barn on there, and what we're going to do, our intention was to add like a 2-bedroom house, basically have a first floor master bedroom, which would help. Right now we're able to get upstairs, but that may come someday. So we're being a little proactive about that. That way we'd have the first floor with your kitchen, living room, everything off the first floor. The second floor is not really a floor, it's like a loft. If my granddaughter, who's 5.5, comes over, we could have her sleep up there. At least we'll have somewhere to sleep, or she could sleep downstairs. And it's just, we just don't want to start looking for another lot, start building, and we just really like it there. We've been there, ever since forever, I have. And that was our intention. If there's any question, I'd be more than happy to answer.
And then you would sell the home in the front?
I
or how?
would, yes.
And
Because
have
we
an
created
easement?
that would be lot 1. You would sell that off.
And they
and
would
then-
have to have an agreement for an easement for the.
Yeah,
shared
that driveway would be part of the 60 Smith one, but there would be an easement to use that driveway to go back. Yeah, and then 2931, we also have an easement to do utilities, but I don't think it doesn't feel like we're going to use that right now. So I used to own that house. Unfortunately, I had to take it over. And then we had a utility easement there.
Which house was the,
2931.
is it to the east or the west?
It would be to the right, I think you almost pointed to it. Right there. And so we have an easement along that side, but it doesn't look like we're going to need to use that.
I do just want to go back a second.
So,
driveways
could you go to the microphone, please?
Okay, sorry.
Just to clarify, the driveways won't be shared. The front building will have the existing driveway as it exists, and that driveway will only be used exclusively by Kevin and Holly to go to the back.
I guess I'm not clear on where the back driveway would be.
James, you get the application with the aerial at all? It may be, I hope, maybe not. One more down, I believe. Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of not the best quality picture, but so you can see the house in the front there in the center with the pool. That's 60 Smith Road. Directly north of that, you can see the garage that's there. And I kind of just a black highlighter hatched. That's where they would put their house. So you can see the existing driveway to 60 Smith Road is there. The new driveway for that house in the back would go on the east side of the 60 Smith Road lot going back to their residence. And then they would remove that. You can see a driveway. That's a gravel driveway. That would be removed, obviously, so there'd be no way for the new homeowners at 60 Smith Road to drive, back to the new house. I just wanted to clarify that so you fully understand.
Okay, is there any other questions for the applicant? Any member of the audience here to speak on this item? Please come to the podium, say your name and address into the microphone, and please write it down on the sheets.
Name is Kevin Cullinan. I reside at 60 Smith Road, or 80 Smith Road, pardon me, to the right of them. First of all, I've never been notified to this legally ever from the town. No letter, nothing came in the mail. I was contacted this afternoon at 10:41 by Holly in regards to discussing this matter. So, there's several issues here. Obviously, I mean, you're putting a 1,000-foot driveway right down the side of a piece of property that I just bought through the town. I've been here twice myself, getting easements and variances to make sure I could do what I needed to do correctly. And the second part of my project, I had to come back and get a floodplain permit to put an addition on the left side of the house, which would be the closest thing to the road. And that is exactly where the driveway is going to be going through. And I made it by 0.2 feet in my area. So basically what we're dealing with here is a lot of water issues. I mean, the whole property, even in the back, is already not drained correctly. I mean, there's the back lot where they would like to build is currently dumping into my property illegally. There's a drain that goes into the property, making it too wet. You can't mow back there until maybe like a month ago when it was dry as dry. But either way, it's just, I mean, I feel like this is not proper enough time to assess the situation. I would need a little bit better clarity on how we're going to get rid of a 1,000-foot driveway worth of water all the way down to that barn. I mean, that's a long driveway, and there's really not a whole lot of room to put it there. There's a utility pole at the corner of my lot with extension wires that go towards his lot, and he wants to sweep in basically with the headlights pointing right into like the new addition in my house, which it's not even finished yet.
Okay, say that last part again.
So that driveway, if you go to the front right corner of the blue house, the bright blue one, I don't know if you can see it. It basically, yeah, move the cursor all the way to the left, a little bit more. Wait. All right, slow down. Now just slightly to the left. That driveway is going to have to come in. That's his original driveway, which goes all the way back to the original house. There is currently an existing driveway to this house. Doesn't need to be another one. So if you go back now to the road and move slightly to the right, right there, that driveway would cut all the way into my property, but it can't go right straight in. It has to angle in because of the utility poles there. And that's where the power changes grid changes from one side of the street to the other. So it's got, substantial guide wires holding it because it's the transition across the street. So, obviously I feel like 1 day notification is not enough time to assess this situation. Meanwhile, I mean, there's this substantial drainage issue that needs to be addressed as far as a 1,000-foot long driveway.
Would the applicant like to come back to the podium and address those comments?
Yeah, I spoke with Evan and Gabby today. The driveway is exactly about 570 feet long. You can see it on the plan. There's a berm that goes from past the pole barn where we're building all the way to our front yard. That berm was created so the water from my property didn't go on to, which was a friend of mine, Mark Himes. We created it that way, so he actually had his water go against my berm, which created a natural swale then. Water issues, I think, are created because they did not build it up high enough to get that water to drain. The water, there is a pipe back there, he is correct. That was something Mark and I worked out. That can be eliminated. It doesn't really, it's blocked right now and it doesn't actually shoot any water through it. But we could eliminate that, and we would eliminate it because we're going to have to put a road there. So the drainage, from my property to his, it's hitting the berm. It's not going on that property. The front, as I spoke with Gabby and Kevin today, where it occurs, there's a guide wire. The pole's like almost on our property line. Then there's a guide wire. We had to avoid that guide wire. We could sweep that a little more, and we were talking we could landscape that. I was talking with Jake. We could heavily landscape that so we avoid, and, do the best we can so the lights don't go into his place. And when he put an addition on, I had no problem with it. I didn't object to it at all. And the thing is, we'll work with the landscaping to try to clean up that issue. Like I told him before, he's got a pond in the far back. It's just a mess back there. I said we could work something out where we could run it in maybe with an easement, run it into, because eventually I think I'm going to have to run a drain tile or a pipe down the road, and I could help him a little bit with some of his water. I don't have a problem with that.
So you have two requests before us today. The first is the area variance on the lot width. I think, it's likely the entire board is understanding of that to create a second lot, it would have to be the 138 feet. The other is an open development area variance, which would require us to do a negative deck. I personally don't feel confident enough with the information provided tonight that on the negative deck portion of this, I don't know if any other member of the board has a thought or comment on this, but I think
you're not about the negative deck.
Just on the environmental consequences of developing this area. If you want to make comments, you have to come to the microphone. Is it the planning department able to make a comment on this?
The negative
I
deck.
understand your question. Negative
Yeah.
for the open development area
Right.
determination. That's not a variance.
Right.
Right, but we would have to make a vote on the negative deck.
Act on the variance separately without before you act on the ODA.
Correct.
The proposed action creates stormwater discharge. No. I mean,
Ron, do you have a comment?
Well, I mean, we're saying here that on the negative deck that there's no issue with stormwater discharge. It's number 17. That's.
Which based on the information that, yeah.
Has the town reviewed that and? I mean, that's what we're hearing tonight, that there might be an issue.
Correct.
Based on the application material.
Right.
Right. So, I'm gonna guess you're not gonna you wanna split this property without the open, development area. So my recommendation would be for the applicant and the neighbor to have a conversation, sometime in the next month to discuss, the various environmental consequences to the neighbor's property. We can adjourn this for tonight and then consider it at the next month.
We would be amenable to meeting with the owners adjacent. Would you act on the variance tonight, or would it all be together?
I would think we should do it together. I mean, I don't see any point in granting the variance without the open area development.
Understood. Sure.
All right, could I get a motion to adjourn, number 19?
I'll move it.
Motion by member Schubert.
Second.
Second by member Gergen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion to adjourn number 20.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn number 20? That's the second. Member Phillips, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by member Gergen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, that, number 20 is adjourned as well. Number 21 on tonight's agenda is 43 Linwood Avenue. Would the applicant please come to the podium? 21.
21, I'm lost already. I've run out of attachments.
I just send a PowerPoint on this one too. I did. It's on the big bites.
This was a bad one for the paper.
Packages. I'm missing it too.
Yeah.
We'll just have to listen.
I think they're taking two, making it into three.
Did you get this one?
No. This is,
Mr. Hawkins, are you presenting 21 and 22 at the same time?
I can. I did two separate presentations, but they're mirror images of each other, so I can. It doesn't
Why
matter.
don't you do one and then the other?
Yeah,
and
well,
then-
let's do that. We'll start with 37. As soon as they could find the PowerPoint. If not, if you have a plan I can pull up, I can describe it real easily.
37 London.
There it is. James, if you could go down to, keep going. It is on the Big Bites link, by the way. You can't get to it. There you go. And if you can just turn that. So 2 contiguous parcels, 37 Linwood and 43 Linwood, 37 being on the top side, Linwood being on the right, 43 being on the bottom, which is more to the south. 37 Linwood is a single-family home, will continue to be utilized as a single-family home. 43 Linwood is a 2-family home, will continue to be utilized as a 2-family home. I think we all know the project that Ellicott Development owns directly next door or to the back at 5195 Main Street. They do have occasionally parking shortages there, parking issues. So what they're proposing to do in connection with these homes that they've owned ever since they did that project is take a small portion of the rear of both of these homes, turn it possibly into future parking, which we've shown there that will require approval of rezoning by the town board. And as a result, both of these parcels will, at that point in time, become less in size than would otherwise be required by the zoning code. By way of comparison, 37 Linwood Avenue, the requirement is 8,450 square feet for a single family home, which is approximately 0.23 acres. The parcel will be reduced to 0.15 acres. And then 43 Linwood, because it's a 2-family home, the minimum lot size is approximately 11,500 square feet. The size of the lot today is 10,000 square feet, meaning it's non-conforming, and it will be reduced to the exact same size as 37 Linwood. In the variance application, we did provide ample justification, benefits versus the detriments. The grant of this relief will result in no changes whatsoever to the appearance of these houses, to the use of these houses. The only thing that will change is the size of the backyards. So it will not result in undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. There are no alternatives, meaning there's no additional property that Ellicott can acquire to expand at this point in time onto 5195 Main Street. And again, they've owned these contiguous parcels for quite some time, more than a decade. Whether the requested relief is substantial, no. Again, no changes whatsoever to the appearance of the use. Whether it will result in any adverse impacts on physical or environmental conditions, both of these matters are type 2 actions pursuant to seeker, and whether or not it's self-created hardship or self-created difficulty. And there again, even if you find that it is, the overall balancing test and the 4 criteria provide more than ample justification for the grant of the requested relief. So with all that being said, and again, it being noted, we are not changing the use, the appearance of either of these homes, and we would ask that you grant the requested relief.
Mr. Hopkins, is the land that belonged to these properties now is going to go to 5195 Main Street?
It is. So you can see that line. You see where there's that line? Yeah. New fence. There'll be a new fence installed there, and the land to the east, or I mean to the west of that, will be conveyed and added into 5195 Main Street.
2 residential properties are owned by
Ellicott Development entity. Yeah, 5,000 Group LLC, which also is the owner of the adjoining project.
And the only intent to use this land is for parking?
At this point in time, I can't guarantee that would never change. I also do want to note that both the houses at 37 and 43 Linwood are on the market for sale. The reason I say that is that's actually good for the neighborhood, because that means Ellicott Development, once they sell those, has no intention to obviously extend the commercial use closer to Linwood.
And would these parking spaces be put in immediately, or is this just land banking it for future?
Land banking, but I think the hope would be to do it sooner than later. At this point in time, the earliest it would be is next spring.
So my concern is that by grant, and maybe this is irrelevant because it has nothing to do with the 2 properties under discussion, is that we're going to grant this variance and then just allow that property to expand in the future without, because won't we be changing essentially the zoning of that land that's going over to?
No, that would need to go for a separate review process. There's no point even going down that path unless we get the variance. So if we grant the variance, then we have to separately start the path of seeking a rezoning of that little rectangle of the property that would be conveyed to 5195 Main Street, bring that into the same commercial zoning classification,
So nothing-
meaning there'd be a planning board
Yeah.
hearing, town board hearing, site plan approval.
Yeah, so nothing could be, we wouldn't, by granting this, we're not creating you any rights without some sort of further review.
No, because it's not zoned. It remains zoned R4 until and if the town board approves that.
Any questions for the applicant? Is any member of the audience here to speak on this item? Please come to the podium. Say your name and address into the microphone and write it down on the sheets.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
I just yell it out.
Yep. What is at 51, you probably said it already, 5195 Main Street, what is that? What's the building?
What's it? Oh, that's the, yeah,
The Mosey? Mosey. All right, I just so I know what, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
My name's David Hall, and I live at 47 Linwood, which is right adjacent to the 43 Linwood. And my concern is if they're going to use this for parking, is the parking lot now that they would add on to is about 3 feet higher than our backyards. So there's going to be a big problem with putting hard surface in there and with water because of the difference in elevation. And plus to have to be right next to the parking lot. My back is right now, and it's kind of an inconvenience when they have buses and everything and let them run all night. So this would be practically right on the side of my house. And I think that I just don't see the necessity of this being turned into a parking lot.
Is there, do you have water issues currently?
No, because there's no water issues, simply because behind where they are now, most of it is all large stone that they must have had to put in there for drainage to begin with. But now there's going to be a big difference in height because our houses are higher than our backyards. And there's going to be a definite problem with a hard surface. You're not having that doesn't absorb. So I don't really see why they want to turn that into parking. Because it's a residential area and you're cutting down the property to practically half the size of the required amount to be for a resident. And I just think that it should not be done that way. That's an old neighborhood and there's really no need.
Hi, my name's Annette Schnapp, and I live at 31 Linwood. And this past weekend, they had a group there with trucks, and they had the music blasting, and it was in the very back of their parking lot. Now, if they extend this parking lot, it's directly next to my house. There's literally my fence, my patio, and then the parking lot. So are they going to have all those trucks? They were given permission by the owner of the Mosey to use that back parking lot. They were there for 5 days, blasting the music for 5 days. They're going to move that right next to my house because they've got parking. And they're literally, there's 4 feet of property or backyard for that house at 37 Linwood. They don't even have a backyard anymore. it's a 4-bedroom house with no backyard. That doesn't make any sense. What's that?
You're reducing the square footage. I mean,
Oh.
Can you come to the microphone if you're going to speak?
You're reducing the square footage of that yard significantly.
It's only 4 feet.
for
That's
a
all that's left.
for a family, like a 5-bedroom house, for a family to live in there, especially if they have children.
Well, then I've got all that noise literally right next to my house. We can't have that. I mean, this is my home. I have rental property and I live in the back. So it's like, they can't just take that away from me and with all that noise and adding all those cars.
If the variance was granted, how far would the parking lot be from your backyard?
Right next to
It's adjacent. Right. Adjacent.
10 feet. That's about it.
No, it looks like it's adjacent.
10 feet from your house, it's right adjacent.
It's right, well, it's adjacent. If you're talking about, oh, no, you're right, because there's the fence. There's my fence, it's literally on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And that's where my back patio is.
And that's if the variance is granted here and the parking was extended.
Yes.
Okay. And what is it now?
What is what now? I'm
Well,
sorry.
how far are you away from the parking lot now?
Oh, I don't know, how far?
Well,
Quite a ways.
they're actually, well, basically, the property runs right
Okay.
adjacent to our backyard, which would be running parallel with South Forest. But it's not all parking lot because I really don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of stone and gravel in there because I think they were required for some type of drainage.
Can you pull up the back of my 31 Linwood?
It's right there.
Okay. All right. So you can see, I'm trying to think. Okay, so that's the back. Flips off. Oh, that way. Okay, there I am.
There's a parking lot behind you right now.
Okay, so I have Verizon parking lot behind me. But if you go to the left, you can see literally there would be the fence right there. So there's their parking lot there. It would be right next to my house.
Yeah, it would be right there. That's the front, that's the back.
And where you're living is the house where you, like midway up, not where the pin is dropped, but to the left of that, where the horseshoe driveway is that where you're living?
Yes,
Okay. What's the parking lot directly?
that's Verizon.
What about the one that's above in the picture? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right. So you're already bounded by 2 lots then?
Yes. And then I have another one. But my biggest concern is because they're given permission for all of this partying going on at the back of the parking lot. They were there for 5 days. I literally had to go over there. I had to call the Mosey and say, you guys.
Okay, so is the issue the parking lot or the activity on the parking lot?
The parking lot, because of the drainage too. I mean, literally, is all that water going to come into my yard or into my backyard and then into my home? Because I took pictures of it. It is like 4 feet higher. And then it all drops, all of our properties drop down.
Is there a drainage problem now?
No,
Okay.
no water at all.
Because of the gravel that's
Right.
there?
I believe
don't
so.
have that because I have Verizon behind me, but my thing is they're going to be moving that parking lot to the back next to my house. That's going to change everything.
And so is it your position that no amount of gravel would solve the problem?
No, it's the noise, it's the drainage.
if you put the parking lot in the back of, on those two pieces of property, they're gonna be right adjacent to her, practically to her house, and it'll be right adjacent to my backyard. And so there's, they're right on top of you. It's not, it just seems, because then you'll have behind and along the side.
I'm gonna be all completely encased in all parking lots.
And then they're gonna be taking all the trees down, which does
Oh.
absorb, and there's a lot of vegetation that does help with
With the
water,
drainage.
with drainage now.
Absolutely.
So,
And just so the board understands, the variance that's being requested has to do with the parcel size. So this will create two parcels that are 6,666 feet, and the required square footage is 11,700 and 8,450.
I've got a question.
Go. Yes, Mr. Schubert.
Is there any room here for a compromise in terms of cutting that in half? I'm sorry?
Mr. Hopkins, please.
Because it looks like the way this is set out, you could add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 8 or 10 spaces. If you cut that in half and maybe lined it up with I didn't know there was already, unless I'm reading this incorrectly, it looks like there's already a parking lot behind one of the houses.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that's
Is there
One
a
foot away.
way of extending that line straight if we have a?
So here's what I would suggest. So we have
See
both.
what I'm saying in terms of just keeping the line straight?
Well, here's what I would suggest. So we have both the two contiguous property owners on that side of Linwood here this evening. There's some concerns raised. I can confirm there's an underground drainage system on the adjacent property on Main Street. We would be connecting in. So we would not be creating any drainage issues. And the planning department can confirm. We have to demonstrate that as part of the project. With all that being said, what I would suggest is you leave the hearing open. Let us meet with the two adjoining property owners on site. I don't know their grades on their particular properties, although I know that neighborhood very well. And then we'll come back at next month's meeting.
It sounds.
But again, as long as the adjoining property owners say they'll meet with us on site and we can talk this through and see if we can come to some kind of consensus.
You understand where I'm coming from? I'm talking about just extending the line of the existing, that L-shaped parking lot.
Yeah, can we go
Wait,
back to
whose
James?
parking lot is the L-shaped?
Can you go back to the plan, James?
Verizon.
Well, that's Verizon.
Oh, that's Verizon.
Okay, so if you go back to that exhibit, just extending the line, which would
Right,
be,
I see what you're
which would be
saying.
half of what you're asking for.
Not quite. It would be more than half. You're saying, can we take where the parking, the eastern side
Yeah.
of the Verizon parking ends and extend that line?
And just keep going, and
Yeah,
that would,
I'd have to talk to my client.
that would give you half of what you want, but it'd still give you more. And the second question is, why, with a indoor parking garage, does the hotel need more spaces?
Because they do have parking issues at times.
There are?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, for real.
All right.
And the net addition is how many spaces by doing this?
I think we're showing 9 or 10 spaces.
You were showing 8, it looked like,
8. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 8.
but then you're also removing some.
But we have to just remove enough to cut in there, a couple spaces. You see what I mean? You have to be able to get to them.
What the net addition.
So the net would be probably 6 to 8. And again, this is just a very conceptual plan because again, without the relief, we can't even go to the next step. But again, let's take this to a little bit further design review and let's come back next month. I think that's appropriate. And I would ask that the two adjoining property owners give me their contact info.
All right, we'll leave the. Yes, come. I mean, so we're not gonna vote on this tonight. So,
Can I bring up one thing that he had mentioned? He had mentioned that, they have parking issues, there's not enough parking. Then why did they let all of these trucks and vans and party in the back parking lot for 5 days, which took away all the parking for any patrons to come in? There were probably 20 parking spots that were taken. I know, but that's what I'm saying. They're saying, well, we need more parking. So then why would you give that
so
for an entire 5 days?
we're asking for the two parties to meet, see if a reasonable compromise can be reached. That's what we're requesting before taking any action.
And then the owner's rep will be there. They can answer that question. I have no idea what the effect.
And the woman who hasn't had the opportunity to speak yet, you're free to. Please make sure you say your name and address into the microphone.
My name's Mary Ruggiero. I live at 65 Linwood Avenue. Let me just get it down here. My concern is the same as everything they've said, but one big thing is the noise and what are they going to put in there? My question too was if you got the approval for the hotel, you had to have so many spaces. At time of approval, why do you all of a sudden need 8 more? I go by there every day. The parking lot is not filled. Underneath is not filled. So I don't really see a necessity for that. My fear is they're going to put like those big dumpsters or something and stick it in there. And I can see right through to like David's property and everything. Really, it would suck to see a fence. I mean, it's all greens there, and then you're going to have just, you know, a property of a big fence. And the noise is a concern. I hear from the hotel, the air conditioners going, they have buses parked back there. The generators are going up in our upper bedroom. They have in their parking ramp, they have like these blue lights that just shine in our bedrooms. So, I mean, if they're going to be parking there, how are they going to prevent cars coming in and out of the lights going in David's area and everything? So I agree with everything they say, but I think we need to know specifically why do they need these, you know, in a big hotel, 8 and 10 parking spots is not a big, you know, we need 8 more. I don't think so. I think there's further intention down the line, and we need to know specifically what they will or will not put in this property area. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to leave the hearing open. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by member Schubert, second by member Parker. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And number 22, 43 Linwood Avenue, motion to adjourn. Motion by member Phillips, second by member Schubert. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That item is adjourned. We're going over the items that we've skipped earlier on the agenda. The first is number 14, 1260 Smith Road. Is the applicant for 1260 Smith Road here? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn that item?
Motion adjourned.
Motion by member Schubert,
Second.
second by member Gergen. All in favor of adjourning that item, say aye. Aye. The next item on the agenda is 1692 Maple Road. Mr. Hopkins, you had a
So I
conversation?
did have the opportunity to speak to Julian and Jen. I did say that we'd be willing to consider some additional screening. I do want to note, we do not want to move the building closer than the 15 feet we're proposing. The options I discussed with them, and I did let them know, this is on the planning board agenda for Thursday, is we could consider increasing the height of the fence. They had some concerns about the landscaping, the type of trees, whether they're evergreen or deciduous. I said if they take a look at the landscaping plan and would like to see some changes, we'd be willing to make those changes. But otherwise, we are asking that you would grant the requested relief. I also want to confirm, again, the precise location of transformer and backup generator gets determined by National Grid. And one very legitimate concern they had was to make sure it's not going to go on the east side of the building, which would be directly adjacent to their home. I did advise them that if National Grid came back and said it needed to go there, we will fight that vehemently. And secondly, and more importantly, that would have to come back in front of you as well for additional public hearing. So they're still here as well. I don't want to prevent them or preclude them from commenting as well. Oh, the other thing is they do have some rear yard drainage or water in their backyard, which again, that house was developed a long time ago that doesn't have a drainage system. Our stormwater area is actually directly adjacent to their property. I'm not the project engineer, but Pat Sheedy from Carmina Wood Design is available. If it would be feasible for us to connect their backyard into our drainage system, and again, the grades work and we can accommodate that, we would consider doing that as well, if we can improve the drainage situation in their backyard.
Thank you.
Again, Julian Shanana from 1700 Maple Road. We did discuss those specific items. But concerning the variances tonight, I would again ask that that they're not granted, at least variance 3 and variance 2 regarding the mechanical equipment being within 18 feet. We did discuss the possibility. 18 feet, that's what I thought I said. Yeah, 18 feet. So one of the big concerns is that if it did go towards that eastern side, that it'd be a little bit closer. Obviously, that would have to get another variance. But even the 18 feet where it's at right now, as we discussed, their plan is to have the front of the medical building on the Maple Road side in line with the front of my house on Maple Road, which leaves that mechanical equipment basically in line with the back side of my house, which is where my living room window is and my bedroom window is, and that's a big concern for me. That would be regarding criteria 1, and then obviously regarding criteria 3, that they're substantial. Along with variance 1, variance 2, like variance 1 and 2 would reduce the space there by about 70%. So the zoning would be completely useless. Not, I shouldn't say useless, but the zoning requires a certain amount of distance from either property line, and they'll be trying to reduce that by 65 to 70%, which I think is substantial. And then obviously criteria 5, we discussed before. It's a self-created problem. It's an empty lot right now. They have every opportunity to design whatever they need or to select a different lot if need be.
Mr. Hopkins, can this wait another month to let further conversations take place, or do you?
I'd prefer, but if we have to leave this open for a month, and again, I respect the adjoining property owner, them showing and coming and having their input. Yeah, I guess we could leave it open. The only thing I would ask that it be left on, it's not up to this board, left on the planning board agenda for Thursday, so at least we have the hearing and get that additional input as well. So yes, if that's the case, we can leave the hearing open. And then what I would welcome the opportunity, I'd appreciate it if Julian, if we could meet on site with the engineer and see if we can talk this through. I have a couple of other ideas.
Do we want to just adjourn it for tonight?
I think that's a good idea.
All right, could I get
to
a
adjourn it?
motion by member Schubert? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by member Gergen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And then last item on the agenda that we've
Thank you.
got to is 2016 Dodge Road. The applicant here. All right, motion to adjourn that.
Motion adjourned.
Motion by member Schubert, second.
Second.
By member Gergen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by member Gergen, second by member Phillips. All in favor? Aye. Aye. And the meeting is now over. Thank you.
Nice job.
Sure. Right, you can rip it out. Night. Yeah. GIS. Yeah. I can take your name.
Can't fix that. You can't fix